New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hi, and welcome to Rockin the Love.
Look, we're half here. Wait, we're not here at all.
And yet, we are here.
Here we are.
That was brought to you by our producer, the great Houdini, the spirit of Houdini. Anyway, here we are. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil. And this is Rockin the Love, which we bring to you almost every Wednesday. I know for myself, I have not been participating the last couple of weeks, and I think pretty much neither one of us has, but I've been very sick and I'm feeling a little bit better today, so that's good.
Oh. Yeah, it's been very shaky times, holidays and a little bit of illness, but we're fine. Thank you for those of you that reached out and texted or called. I really appreciate it. And we're good. And he's on the mend.
I'm on the mend.
Ain't no stopping us now.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we just want to welcome you to our show. And for those of you who haven't been here before, this is a show about
relationships. It's
yes.
about the joy of relationship. It's about the concept that we are in relationships everywhere. Starting with ourselves, with our spiritual whatever, with our parents and spouses and kids and friends and coworkers and well anyway.
And depending on your belief, generations of life.
Yeah.
So anyway, so welcome back or welcome for the first time. We're just glad you're here. And as you can see, when I said on the mend, that means he's still in process. So thank you. This is a place where we like to explore all different kinds of things, stories, and really just being able to live more fully into the potential of who we are. And so today's episode asks a profound question. How do we change our experiential reality?
Oh my gosh.
So often the experiences we've lived don't even register in our awareness, and they slip, beneath the surface into the cracks, and they shape our choices and our perceptions without us even realizing it. So that's what we're going to delve into today. What if we could change or bring those hidden layers into the light?
Yes, I think we'll probably touch on questions like, do you have to actually bring the thing into the light exactly? Do you have to know what it is? Do you have to just recognize what the belief is that you've created from it? All that kind of good stuff. We'll see where it goes.
Right. So that's what we're going to explore. We're going to explore awareness and neuroscience and intentional practice and see what we can rewrite and uncover. That's what we're doing today. So stay tuned for that. But before we do that, we just want to welcome John out there. Greetings. Thank you for joining us. And
it's time for the good news or a week. See, I'm not all here yet. Our week What's happened? What's going on?
It's a busy week. I mean, besides being sick, it's, we've both talked about, we've had this experience of being under the weather. And, I don't know about for any of you, but when you have a partner that you live with that's under the weather and you're taking care of them, it's like you start to kind of morph into that energetic. For me, it's been hard to stay motivated and keep everything on the up and up. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. Just because it's funny. This whole thing's funny. I mean, I write an email and I have to take a nap. It's odd when you don't feel well.
It is. It's like an
it's
out of body experience.
What is your body? What is my body telling me? What is my spirit telling me in the midst of my body doing this? Should I be pushing to get better faster, or should I just be allowing it to happen? All those questions.
And if you pushed for it to happen faster, would that make it happen?
It might make it happen, but I don't know what to do next week or the week after.
Ye of something that don't you know by now that
Pardon me.
you can't. We can't make it happen. I mean, SmackDowns. This is a SmackDown.
This is SmackDown.
Yeah, it's a SmackDown. It's good. SmackDowns are ordained by spirit. Not that everything isn't, but when it gets to the serious stage where you don't really have a choice because you fall asleep.
Well, not fall asleep, but cough and hack and wake up at weird times and not be able to concentrate.
Yeah.
I mean, all those things.
Well, that's when you have to really just let it go and surrender.
Yeah.
Surrender. Yeah. So that's been our week. So a lot of surrender. It was a great time to have this happen in terms of a holiday because it's kind of like a non-week anyway. Like people aren't up and functioning and working. So it didn't feel as
impactful, and yet it was very impactful. And for me, it's been much longer than just the holiday week. So
yeah,
it's been 3 weeks plus. So that's weird.
Well, that means
and that's odd for me
too.
Well, you've done better with it. Was I sick before you got back?
You started getting a cold.
Yeah.
Because then when we did the thing that Saturday night,
that's right. You were here, and that's when I really.
No, you saved it up for me, babe.
Sideways. Yeah. Well, I don't like to do it all alone.
Clearly.
Last time I got sick, I was in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I went on vacation and then stayed in the bed.
Without me.
That's because you were on vacation.
That's right.
You were like, yeah, I'm busy.
Anyway, so there you have it. That's our week. So yes, it is time. It is indeed time for the good news. Da, 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 da. Thank you, producer Michael. So what do you got?
Well, so if you think of a bastion of recycling, where would you think of? What country would you think would be right up there on top?
It starts with an A, but I can't remember because I read that article.
It starts with an R. It's Romania.
It ends with an A.
Romania. And it's quite fascinating. Romania is one of, in the EU now. And of course, obviously, it was one of the Eastern Bloc countries for years. And so from the article, it appeared that they hadn't really had a real recycling program. So this was one of the things that they claimed made it easier to set it up, was because there wasn't anything to tear down and redo. But they started a system of recycling bottles and cans and plastic and that stuff. And what they did was they did something similar to places here in the States like California, where they charge a fee for each thing that you purchase. Then they also installed into all the stores and did this in a private-public partnership, got vending machines in so you can put your stuff in and get your money back. Not only do you get your money back, you get your money back plus a little. So, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to guess instead of 5 cents a can, you get 6 cents or something like that, And so people actually
So it's an
make
investment.
money.
Mm-hmm.
So they put money in and then they're able to get money back.
Wow.
And so anyway, they have been able to, of those products, they've been able to recycle 94% in 2 years.
Wow.
They've hit 94%. Now that's, their whole recycling is more like 15% of the country. But of this aspect of what needs to be recycled, they're hitting 94%, which is unheard of. And it's got to do with this creative way that they put it together. And then it's a public-private partnership. So, the government's invested, and you have private enterprise, which is able to create part of the process. And I suppose they must profit from it somehow as well, from the recycling itself. And so it's very interesting.
That's great.
I thought it was really cool.
That's very cool. That's great. Well, today from my good news segment, it comes to us straight from the University of Missouri, where researchers have discovered that hope is far more than just wishful thinking, that it's a powerful emotional force that may even be more essential to our well-being than happiness or gratitude. And we did a show on that and talking about that. And so it's just more facts that their study published in the journal Emotion involved over 2,300 participants and revealed that hope consistently predicts a deeper sense of meaning in life.
So a level of hope predicts a level of meaning, as perceived meaning.
A deeper sense of meaning.
Huh.
And they explained that it's not just about setting goals, that it's an emotional experience that enriches our lives and helps us see progress, growth, and possibility. And by nurturing relationships and cherishing small positive moments and engaging in caring activities like gardening or raising children or things that we can cultivate, where we can cultivate that hope every day. And in tough times, hope reminds us that change is always possible, which I think we may be holding on to in some form, sense or form now in our world. So the research just shows that hope isn't a rare thing, that it's really available to all of us, and not only available, but essential, and that it's a key life to really making life meaningful.
I think hope is sort of that idea that we see possibility. I mean, I think that's kind of the key of hope. If we can see possibility, we can see something beyond what is right in front of us. For me, anyway, that's kind of my understanding of what hope is. That allows me to go, okay, I don't have to be stuck here. There's something else. There's something more.
Yes, I think that's true. I think hope is the opening gate to everything else. I mean, I think on some level, it's the only way you can see happiness or the possibilities that we live into. But that's a whole different show. This was just facts backing up what we talked about. So that's our good news. Our good nose is our good nose. Our good news. Our good nose is good, and our good news is
even better.
Even better. Right on target. So that's great. It's great. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, because that's what we do here. And we're going to come back to talk about how our experiential reality changes our life. So stay tuned. Don't go away. And we'll see you right back here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Well, hi there on this giving week of the holiday season. Hi, I am Reverend Michael Mangus. I am one of the staff ministers here at Your New Thought Media Network. And I just want to remind you on this giving week is that you can give to New Thought Media Network. One of the things that we don't talk about here is that all of our presenters do so, they contribute some, but they do not cover all of the cost of broadcast. That comes from you. We want to be able, again, to take this positive message of New Thought around the world, and you make it possible with your donation. So consider a holiday donation to ntmedia.org/donate. Just go on our homepage and then hit the donate button. You can give a very generous one-time gift, or you can go ahead and do like I do and many of our show hosts, and that is give on a monthly basis. Sustaining gifts really help us, again, to set budgets, pay the bills, and also gives us funding to allow other hosts to be on New Thought Media Network. So if you could, again, go to ntmedia.org/donate. And thank you very much and happy holy days.
And we are back. We are back. So thank you so much for coming back. And I invite you to do the same. So how do we consciously, that's not the topic. What did I say it was? How do we
deal with our hidden lived experiences, hidden lived
experience reality?
experience reality?
Yeah.
How do we change our experience or reality? Look, it's right there on the board.
Yeah, that's what I put in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do we do that? And this came about just thinking about, Gil and I are doing a lot of work with kids and parents at a center here. And just talking about yesterday, it came up when they were talking about a kid who is up and down with his behavior and blah, 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 and how a lot of it stems from that he was premature and in the NICU for 4 months, and that every day his mother went for 10 hours and sat with him at the NICU, which is really miraculous. It's a lot of time. However, the conversation became about the other 14 hours and what the child perceived in the 14 hours, that nobody was there, or that they were taking blood, or that the doctors had hands on, or whatever was going on, which made me think about all the things that happen to us that we either don't consciously know or we don't consciously acknowledge. I mean, because things are happening to us in every moment. And how, if something like that affected his life, the 14 hours that people weren't there, or that he was being poked with needles or whatever, how do we change something that we don't even know about, that nobody has backtracked like that for us?
It's a good question. I mean, I think it's fascinating to think that there are experiences in our lives which well, I think people either plain don't remember them because they were, like that. You were basically an infant and you probably don't have real raw memory of that. But also things that we've shut out of our memory intentionally, and pasted over, but they still are running our internal belief system.
Right.
And that's the key. The internal belief system is what it's all about. Interestingly, I was doing some reading on through the group The Hidden Brain, and they're talking about how the newer studies are showing that in fact our experiences have less effect on our beliefs than we thought, with one exception, and that's childhood trauma. Childhood trauma is always definitely connected to that, but people can grow up in a very affluent, stable situation and believe that they're on the edge and they're going to lose everything. And they can grow up in a very non-affluent situation and be very clear that everything is okay. So the experience itself isn't necessarily the key. But the question is, what are those hidden things that we have that perhaps some experience happened that we did take to heart, and we made a decision based on that. We decided people aren't to be trusted. We decided that that I'm not good enough to receive whatever it is that I need to receive in my life.
Yeah, what do we hold on to? I mean, and I think, the other part of it for me is, and so we make up stories,
Mm-hmm.
And especially in this day and age with, self-help books and self-help book sections and TV shows and all the things and all of our metaphysical studies and our this and our that, we make we make up these stories, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but we make up these stories about our childhood and our youth and who affected it how. My dad wasn't there, and so that affected it in this way, and I go to, beloved Byron Katie. Is that the truth? I don't know. I mean, the truth is, I don't know. I mean, that's, for me, that's where I live these days is, I don't know. Even what I think I know, I don't know. And I don't mean that in a woo woo way. I just mean there's, I think we're always living in a land of possibility. So if there's something else, we can, it could be.
Right. Excuse me.
Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so John is saying, calm viewing of my life reveals my deep seated beliefs from childhood, and this is a rich area for me to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think I think the key is not so much what was the experience, but did we make some decisions based on whatever that, our perception of that experience, whatever that was.
Well, did we, and are we now? And is it different than it was?
Right? Are we still allowing that same? Are we allowing whatever that decision was to filter into whatever we see now?
To run us.
Right. And I think that was another fascinating thing we learned in discussing what's happening with this group with these kids is that the way the brain tends to function, we take all of this, we tend to take around 90% of our thought is based on what's happened in the past. And so what our evaluation is of various situations based on our experience in the past and what we've decided about those experiences. And then, when we're standing in the here and now, we're pulling all of that in, and that's covering, if you will, or creating the scrim in front of what's happening right now. And so we can only see it through that filter. And so the reality is it's very easy to literally be doing everything. Every thought is from the past, which means we're always living out our belief system. We're always living out whatever it is we've thought. And so that's where this whole process of being conscious of what we believe and exploring, like, well, why do I respond in that way to this situation? Oh, well, there's something underneath that. There's an experience that I had. I now remember, and I can let that go now that I know what I know as a human being in my later years.
Yeah. And I think it also goes beyond that because it's also about perception and how we perceive something to happen as a child and how we perceive it to happen now can be two different things. I mean, are two different things.
Right.
And so I'm going to read you something from an article I saw that says perception as a creative act. Neuroscience shows that perception isn't passive. It's an active construction. Our brain filters sensory input based on survival, relevance, and learned patterns. What we perceive is less about what's there and more about what our system highlights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I heard a comedian the other day that said, actually, kids are ignorant. And that's true in the sense that they don't have experience, they don't have the breadth of understanding, they don't have the education. So, kids say the darndest things. Well, it's in part because they're coming from this view of the world that has a very limited understanding. And so I think the more stuff that we have, that we drag along with us from decisions we made from a perspective of a child, the more we have to work on.
Well, yeah, and a child is unfiltered.
I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's not that the child did anything wrong, but their understanding of a situation may be, they may make a global decision based on a very individual situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and much like all of us, we make decisions based on the amount of information we have, whether that's limited or,
That's true. And we continue to do it.
Right.
Which is the whole thing about making up stories, is that we fill in the blanks with whatever we think.
Yeah. John says, when I get very calm and still, I can feel the sense internally my filters. Feel and sense internally my filters.
So part of it's allowing oneself to become aware, allowing oneself to just be and go, what am I seeing? Through what am I looking? What lens am I utilizing? Um, why does it trigger me when this happens? Why do I get so frustrated when that happens? Why am I convinced that, if the boss wants to talk to me, I must have done something wrong? I mean,
Right. Why is
right?
that the first response? Why? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because just even listening to that, it makes me think about the four agreements, which we are discussing on Girls Behaving Metaphysically Thursdays at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. And we've done the first and the second agreement. And the second agreement is don't take anything personally.
Mm.
And what really struck me about this, I have read this book I don't know how many times, and what struck me this time is really about don't take anything personally. That's my favorite agreement. But don't take anything personally, the good or the bad. Because I was like, wait a minute, not the good either. But what about the good? I like the good. Like when somebody goes, wow, you are so fabulous. Well, that's right, I am. But it's still about their perception of what's going on for them. And so what don't take anything personally just clicked in my mind thinking about what if we could really do that with our childhood.
Mm.
Like what, it's a big one. Gives me chills in my body. What if we could really let go of any of that angst we have with people for what they couldn't do or did or didn't do, or how they did it, or why they did it, or and really just went to that place of,
Yeah, why did certain friends abandon us? It feels like, why did other things happen? There's all kinds of stuff in that you could work on. I mean, you could think about. That's powerful.
yeah, it's interesting. John says, getting triggered, I see it as my inner jukebox pulling up a trigger of 45 belief and breathing as I don't take the bait to think the 45 record is truth of moment.
Right. Yes. And I've had some time to kind of think about that the last few weeks. To really think about so what am I? Why am I triggered to do a certain thing? Why am I triggered to respond to you in a certain way? Why am I, is that really got anything to do with you, or is it really necessary? And I can't say that I've come to any grand conclusions, but I know it kind of sucks for you. But what I can say is that it's interesting and it's humbling to just be with that idea of, oh, is this just, this is it's like when the doctor hits your knee with a little hammer. I just, boop, there it goes. And there's no real thought behind it and so the thing becomes, so how do I let go of that belief? How do I let go of whatever that thought is that shows up when certain things happen in my life, or when I perceive certain things to happen? That's another thing. I think half the time, at least, we are simply perceiving some kind of threat or concern or whatever it is in our lives when there isn't one, because like you say, it's not personal. It's not really even a thing, but we create a thing out of it.
We do that. We as human machines like to create things and stories and things like that. And so I know, as we go through training, or as we discover or do any of the processes we've done, a lot of times it sends us back to that trigger or that realization that, oh, in this moment, this happened and it made me feel, like this. And so I guess my curiosity really became about, what about the moments we can't identify? because
Mm.
I think there's so many moments that have shaped our lives. Like I can make it up, but like even the moments in class where I raised my hand, but they always called on somebody else, or those kind of things that I don't really think about, but did it affect me? I'm sure it did.
Hmm. I'm not seen.
I'm not seeing,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever. But like, what about those moments that we don't know? The moments in the hospital when we were born, or the moments in the crib when we cried too long and nobody came, or and geez, that's the recommendation now, right? You let your baby cry. So what is that? You let your baby cry, so that they don't think you're going to run in there every time they're crying. But what does that really do?
Right. What does that teach them?
What does that
In
teach them?
in the well in some, I was going to say in the big picture, but what's that teach them in the small picture? In the picture of life based on their perception and what they can do for themselves and what they're perceiving. What does that do for them? What do they actually? What logically would one get from, I'm trying to let you know I need something and you're not coming,
Yeah.
and I can't even roll over.
Which speaks to the fact that there probably really isn't a them. What does it do for them? It's probably all individual, right?
Right.
Because for somebody, it's not going to mean anything, and for someone else, it's going to mean they were abandoned.
So the question, I think, becomes, do we have to find those things to be able to work with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think so?
No, that's the question.
Oh, that's the question. Okay, thank you.
I'm acknowledging your brilliance. That is the question.
I won't take it personally. So, yeah, I think that's the question. Do we really have to find those things, or do we have to? Is it really more about acknowledging whatever the resulting belief is of those hidden situations?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think like it's a really good exploration. And is there a one size fits all kind of answer? I think can we come to this place and be where we are and know that we've gotten here via our ancestors and our parents and our siblings and our experiences and all of that, and just allow that to be what it is, just allow it to be a thing, and then yeah, I don't know, like how do you glean the good parts, and why it's complicated, and are they all good, because obviously they've taught you, you know so what do we need to know, though, is the thing, really. What is there something we need to know in order to change or to grow?
I think in some ways, pardon me, it goes to the Byron Katie thing you mentioned a minute ago about, is that true? And I think that's a lot of what we have to work with in terms of those things that come up, and when we realize, oh, I'm responding to that because I am afraid I'll be abandoned, because um, I believe that there isn't enough, whatever the thing is. And if we can take that into the place of, is that true? Is that true today? Is that true for who you are? Is that really true? Then that's where we start to heal that. And exactly where it came from is less important than recognizing that it came.
John says, or when I believe I'm the one not worthy of love, the love of God, and put it in the quantum field, and then take responsibility for creating the experience of no love to prove my point.
So it's easy to believe that we're the one not worthy of love, and then that can set us in a spiral of all kinds of thoughts, right? Like, they're not treating me well because I already believe I'm not worthy of being treated well. Those people are taking advantage of me because I believe I'm not worthy of actually being loved.
Right.
And so we can end up creating a situation where we're blaming outside. And I think John's saying that when you turn that around and realize that it's really about my acknowledging that the love that I need already exists right where I am, then that changes it.
Right. And I think that our producer speaks to that point by saying what has helped him in developing an observer is developing an observer self that catches me before I react. And I think that is key in some ways, because if you can go to that observer place, for me, this is for me, for anybody else, then I'm able to remember that it's not real anyway on some level, and that I'm making it up, and before that, which when I start to do that, that's when I react, and I react from that place of defense or whatever emotion is happening. Yeah, I think that's super powerful. All of that you all have said.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, my big learning has been, and continues to be, to allow that observer to see what's going on and to be with whatever's happening, and not reacting, but determining a path of action, based on something that's, that I've at least worked through the filters and seen which ones I can throw out or which ones I need to add in to this situation. And I don't have to just have the gut reaction filter of whatever that was. Does that make sense? So I can sit and be with it and look at it and really let it, so
It makes sense, but I here's where I feel like you get tripped up there, and I'm sure this happens for many people. So I'm not judging it. I'm just calling you out on it. Is it when you say that's where you start to, what did you say? Think whatever.
Well, yeah.
Would,
look at the filters and see what's there, and
yeah,
see removed.
and sometimes you get stuck in like that logic,
Mm.
and that reality of trying to figure it out. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure you can.
Sometimes it might be more expedient to just, for instance, say, I'm not going to take it personally and release that, and then act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than trying to figure out which part is true, which part isn't, which part is, but that I'm just simply going to, and I think maybe that's the beauty of something like the Four Agreements, is that you have these very simple places to step into, which allow you to step outside of whatever all the belief patterns are.
Mm-hmm.
And make a decision, make an action from there.
Because I think that the minute you start to think, like, if we take it personally or whatever, we start to think, oh, that's right, I'm such a screw up, I never do this right, this never happens, they're going to think that I blah 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 blah, and you start to go down that path. And the truth is, as we seek to grow it's really more about identifying what is, which is why I say to you a lot of the time, don't say you're sorry. There's nothing to be sorry about, because that's a whole conversation in your head.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole conversation in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even if you say, "Oh, I know how I empathize with how you feel," or "that always makes me feel blah blah," or whatever, but there's no reason to be sorry, because that's part of the perpetuation of the story of what we're not.
Well, at some level, that's the woe is me story.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, I'm not doing these things. When really, really, it is what it is. And thank you for being understanding.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right.
And I would like to be able to do more, and I just can't.
Yeah, that's we should do that show.
Excuse me.
We should do the show about what's that old saying about "I love you" means saying "I'm sorry," or "I'm sorry" means
Yeah.
or doesn't have to mean "I'm sorry," whatever. Anyway, about being sorry. So yeah. So how do we let go of those things that we don't know, that we can't see? And I think the answer, I think one of the answers anyway, is we don't have to see them. We feel them. We feel that fear. We feel that feeling inferior, or not being seen, or not being heard, or not doing it right. Those are things we feel. Do I have to know that it's because, whatever, my mother didn't hold me long enough, or,
Right.
I don't. For me, this is just for me, and off the top of my head now, do not quote it as medical fact, but I have to be able to, on some level, identify that those feelings or those experiences are not the truth of spirit, or who I am, or what I want in my life, and act from there to create the reality that I want to feel, to know that if our relationship isn't nurturing me, then I need to know, how do I call it in more love? And not, I don't need to know how. I need to declare that, or want that, or admit to that.
Right. You hit on something there about, this relationship isn't nurturing me, this idea that whatever it is isn't providing me with what I need. And I realize that there's some truth to that in certain relationships. But a lot of the time I think it's about these beliefs and expectations that we have that come from old beliefs about what's required, what it means if someone really is nurturing me. What does that mean? Well, what is that? Can someone really nurture me? I need to be fully nurtured in myself before and I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, so we're really talking about the experience and the neuroscience of reality. We're really talking about
Yeah.
um,
I'm going to see what's under there. Nothing new.
just okay. Gil's trying to see the comments. Yeah, there is something new. We will get to it in a second.
Okay.
The neuroscience of reality, and that the research shows that the brain doesn't just mirror it sculpts it, that we create it, that our sensory inputs are noisy and messy, and incomplete, and the brain fills in the gaps. And we don't always, it's not always the truth.
Well, we were talking, about an example of a kid who in whose parent made an effort to really acknowledge the positive things that they did. And after a week of that, when somebody sat down with the kid and asked about it, the kid had no recollection of anything positive that had been said, because their brain so believed that what was going to be coming was negative that either they didn't listen or they didn't hear it that way or whatever. And what it made me think of was, the radical example of when someone's driving down the freeway and crashes into the airplane that landed on the freeway because they didn't see it, because their brain just could not make sense of this based on what it had already decided, what we've already decided about what's true and what works in the world.
Yeah, and that it's not a kid thing. I mean,
Right.
it's a kid adult thing. It's like, how many of us don't hear, how great our work was or how much somebody appreciated it, because we were still in a place of thinking about, oh my God, but I didn't get the flowers out on the table, and I didn't, the things we didn't do, or whatever our thing is. All right, I'm going back to John's comment, which was from a while ago, so I'm not sure, but it says, and compassionately and calmly be aware of all humans around me are also reacting and running their filters. And if I am completely grounded and calm, I start intuiting their filters too. Okay. Yeah, that's intuiting their filters is a risky business, I will just say. And I say this from a place of, I had a friend who was, very intuitive, very psychic, known as a psychic. And she would tell us what we were feeling at times. And it wasn't always accurate. Yes, I'm not saying, John, I know you're not saying that. I know, we can relate to, oh, someone is feeling, it's not the time to talk about that. This is something else is going on. But I don't know. It's just, it's dangerous sometimes to not stay in our own field. And if we go to the thought that, or the perception that, it's all a reflection of us, what part of that is what's going on for us on some level?
Right. Well, I think the most important word in what John had in that was compassionate. That when we can compassionately, meaning really with love, receive what's coming in, receive the person, see them without, to the best of our ability, without putting all the filters over them that we might put,
Mm-hmm.
And I think compassion is a major key to all of this for ourselves, to be compassionate that maybe there is something that I don't know or remember in my life that really threw me off in a particular area, and it's okay that happened, in the sense that that's life. It's okay. It's okay that I made that decision. The question is, do I want to live my life from that place now?
Yes, absolutely. Good points. Good points. I think the song, so as Gil knows, I always have a soundtrack going on in my head. And the song that's going through my head right now is "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, obviously, metaphorically, that it was there to teach us. Yeah, so I think that it's a really interesting topic, and I think what you just said is so important to next steps, and that the changing our experiential reality means just cultivating that awareness and questioning our automatic patterns and intentionally choosing new interpretations. Because what I was mad at my dad for when I was 12, and when I look back on it now, I may be able to find some different nuances in that. And, just knowing that, neuroscience and therapy and mindfulness and practices all converge on the idea that reality isn't fixed, it's fluid, and we have the power to change it and to do new things, and to create new outcomes. So so that is the challenge for this week. I would say it's really just about taking a moment to be with your thoughts, and with if situations come up or memories come up or old things, to really pause, to hit the pause button, and to be able to reevaluate in a new way, and take that breath.
I think the key is just awareness, and I think awareness and compassion are the two key things. And like you said, when I whatever my thing was at 12 with my dad, when I look at it now, what does that look like? And it's got to do with increasing our compassion and our ability to see the bigger picture, and also to then move into the other. Don't take it personally. Whatever these experiences are, everyone in them is doing the best they can at the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it appears like they ain't doing so good, but that's my opinion.
Right.
That's all it is.
All right. So as we wrap up this episode, we just want to thank you all for participating, especially John, who was very vocal.
Thank you, John. That was
good
fun.
to have you here. We haven't seen you in a while. And for all of you quiet ones out there holding the space, we're just grateful for you as well. And just remember that reality isn't something that just happens to us. It's something that we actively create. And so just the challenge is to tune into that awareness, and questioning the old patterns and embracing new perspectives, and knowing that we can transform the way we live and the way we love and connect. And it's not about escaping the past, but reclaiming the present and opening the space for the future. So thanks for joining us on Rockin the Love. And
we're gonna put that on a postcard.
we will put that on a postcard. And
Robyn writes Olmstead. Very cool.
And actually, I'm going to leave you with a quote by an actress that we've been watching lately. And the quote is, "Sometimes it's the smallest decisions that can change your life forever." And that's by Carrie Russell. And so I just invite you to look at maybe where you can make those small tweaks in your story and see if it doesn't have a big impact. So you know what to do, everybody. Love is the most important thing happening right now. If you can love with a donation to New Thought Media Network, fantastic. If you can love with supporting other viable causes in the world, that's fantastic as well. But love where your heart is fed, and know that our heart is fed as we give to you. So rock the love with us, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Rock on.